Hey everybody, welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com and YouTube and wherever else you're watching this. Thanks as always for watching. Let's get right down to your questions about the world of professional wrestling, sports entertainment, men in tights, whatever you want to call it. Let's get down to it. You realize how when Miz was champion, everyone on wrestling forums and YouTube and crap thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. But now that he's not even a mid-carder, everyone acts like he's worse than the Shockmaster. Wow. Why do wrestling fans jump on bandwagons so much? You talk about wrestling fans jumping on bandwagons. I think that people just got behind The Miz because he was a new star in WWE. He was being pushed as a new star and a big deal. And I also think that people were following him since the beginning. You know, we all saw his rise. We saw him go from this real-world guy to an announcer on SmackDown doing the hoorah in the crowd, and he slowly worked his way up, and I think people respected him for that. I don't really think that people have been turning on him. You mentioned here that people think he's worse than the Shockmaster. I've not seen anything like that. Most of the comments I've seen are people that are unhappy that Miz is being portrayed as this basically enhancement talent, and I think that at some point something needs to be done with The Miz, and there's all this talk about him being involved in Wrestlemania. WWE's trying to keep it a surprise, but they want to do something big with him. Maybe it's going to be him interfering with Rock versus Cena. I personally hope that's not the case. I hope they do something else. But, yeah, something needs to happen with The Miz, and time will tell. But it's just unfortunate that WWE put so much stock into him, and now he is kind of back to square one, and it was all for nothing. So hopefully things change for him. Do you think Randy Orton will be traded back to Raw after the draft? He was good as World Heavyweight Champion on SmackDown, but he hasn't done much since his Wade Barrett feud. I'd like to see Punk back on SmackDown with the title, as I think that would improve the depth and ratings of the SmackDown show. You know what? That would not surprise me if Randy Orton and CM Punk traded positions. The whole reason to put Randy Orton on SmackDown in the first place was because they needed a top babyface once Edge had retired. And now that CM Punk has risen up to the top, they could move Randy Orton back to Raw and put CM Punk on SmackDown. I don't see Randy Orton just going to Raw by himself without CM Punk switching to SmackDown or vice versa. So I could see that happening, a switch there. And I don't know if CM Punk will go to SmackDown with the title, or they'll switch the titles around to switch them from one brand to the other. I don't know if that's going to happen, but yeah, I suspect something will happen with Orton because he, like you said, he really hasn't done a lot as of late, and going back to Raw might be the best thing for him. Do you think it would help TNA if they started selling tickets to the Impact Zone instead of free admission like they do now? Not really. You have to look at it this way. Those fans have been going for years, and all of a sudden if you start charging them, why would they want to go? They've been going for free for so long. And I think those people are kind of tired of the product as it is, and they go just because it's a force of habit and they've done it for so long. So I think charging would be a really bad idea at this point. And like we've said many times, just running in Orlando at this point is a bad idea. I think they need to get out of there as soon as possible. But we've talked about this before, and not really a whole lot to add to that. Hey Aaron, do you see Lance Storm being inducted into the Hall of Fame soon, as he had success in WWE, WCW, and ECW? I suppose if WWE does Wrestlemania in Canada down the line, that you could consider Lance Storm going in the Hall of Fame. I think that would be a good idea. I like Lance Storm. I think that he had a solid run. He was never a major star, but like you said, he was in all three companies, and He did have some success. So if they do have WrestleMania in Canada, I'm all for that happening, and I definitely see it as a possibility. Hey Aaron, love the show. What was the show that you watched during the Monday Night Wars? Did you flick and change or simply watch one show? Personally, I have always hated WCW. Was good at a stage but got too repetitive. I'm glad that WWE took over. I believe I've answered this before, but I'll say it again. I actually, since I live on the West Coast, for several years there was actually a delay on Raw. So Raw would air 3 hours on a time delay, while Nitro would air live. So I was able to watch Monday Nitro at 6 o'clock and then watch Raw at 9. So up until around 98, I didn't have to switch back and forth. But then I guess Nitro started airing around 9 o'clock on, so it was like sometime around 98. I think it was July 98, at some point around there. And I had to, what I ended up doing by that point was I'd watch Raw and tape Nitro. I think back in 96, if I had to make a choice, one or another, I would have gone with Nitro just because of the NWO, and that's when WCW had really peaked creatively. But by 97, once the ball got rolling with Steve Austin and all that, I would have probably watched Raw and tape Nitro. Aaron, just read on your site that CM Punk versus Y2J will be opening WrestleMania 28. No, 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 no. Your thoughts? That is interesting. If that ends up being the first match, I would be surprised a little bit. I think that basically what we know about the card is obviously Rock and Cena going on last. They're talking about doing Undertaker and Triple H in the middle of the show. And I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, you look back to WrestleMania 8, they had the double main event. Hulk Hogan versus Sid was the final match, and they had Randy Savage versus Ric Flair in the middle of the card. So I think Hell in a Cell is actually fine to be in the middle, you know, as like at the halfway point of the show, and then you kind of split the card into two parts. I guess you could have Y2J and CM Punk open the show, and then have Daniel Bryan, and you know, maybe they're gonna do. Maybe it would be a good idea to do like an intermission or something if you're gonna do that, where you could have CM Punk and Y2J open up the first part of WrestleMania, have Hell in a Cell, have an intermission, and then start the second part of the show with Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus. So maybe that's something they have in mind. I don't know. But if they're going to do it like they usually do with just the matches, just no intermission, just all the way through, I would just I would open it with Sheamus and Daniel Bryan. But that's just me. Be honest. Did you jump on the CM Punk bandwagon only after that speech on Raw last year? Absolutely not. I was a huge CM Punk fan going back before WWE, and I always liked the straight edge character because I'm straight edge. What can I say? So he kind of stole my gimmick. What can I, you know? But the thing with CM Punk is I was always behind him, and right when he started in WWE, I was so happy that he came out there on ECW and got that huge reception, and people reacted to him like he was a star. So I was happy for him then, and you even go back to the NoDQ&As, like the early text versions before I started the videos, just before CM Punk's promo, actually, when there was a talk about him leaving WWE, and people were asking me, like, do you think CM Punk is a top guy, and should they put more stock into him? And I said yes. I said that if CM Punk stays around and doesn't leave the company, I think he's going to be one of their top guys. So I called that before it happened. You can look back at those texts and see what I said. So, yeah, I'm very happy for CM Punk. All right, that'll do it for today's edition of NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com. Thanks, as always, for watching, as I mentioned before. Please subscribe, youtube.com/NoDQCAW, and stay tuned for more.